possibility. Again, boy, I'll tell you, we're really brushing up against the Philadelphia experiment in more ways than one. So the tale told of the Philadelphia experiment, at least technically, I don't know whether you've ever heard it or not, but what they used really sounded an awful lot like what you're doing.
I was highly fascinated by the Philadelphia experiment. I read some of the books that were published in the early days. And some U.S. scientist in New York, Dr. Guy Obolinski, suggested to me to fine-tune the frequencies I was using, and I got similar results, and which I did do. But unbeknownst to me was after analysis of the metals and videos and that these things would show up later on.
What made you decide on, for example, 455 kilohertz?
It seemed to be a magical frequency. It's a fundamental frequency of many things. I was basically, for about 10 years prior to the discovery, I didn't promote this, but 10 years prior to this, I enjoyed playing with radio equipment, Tesla machines, and was quite immersed in it. Lived quite a lonely lifestyle in Lynn Valley, North Vancouver. That's another part of Vancouver. So I had a lot of time to play with these things.
You began at what age?
Oh, good heavens. I was intrigued by this stuff since I was probably 5 years old.
5 years old. So then you were well into experimentation in your teens?
Oh, yes. I scared Vancouver into believing that there was a UFO invasion.
You did?
In 1965, it made the front page of the Vancouver Sun newspaper.
I keep hearing, I'm getting a lot of fast blasts right now from Canada, Alberta, for example. Peter says, I heard that John once shook a telephone pole without any equipment.
That's right.
It is right?
That's a true story, yes. It was a telephone pole outside behind, I guess it would be lab number 3, where I moved to in Burnaby, British Columbia. And this telephone pole, I thought some truck got caught in guide wires to the pole, and I had the equipment on, preparing for a run, a test for some people that were coming.
Right.
And I looked through my, I just let the machines run. I went to the back of the building and was looking up and saw this telephone pole moving 3 feet one way or another.
3 feet?
3 feet movement. I said, gee, this is dangerous because the wires are coming to my place. So I went outside and looked, and I didn't see any car tangled in any guide wires, and people were starting to come out and look around, and I thought, oh, well, it couldn't be the equipment, could it? So I slammed the main breakers down. Once it did that, it stopped. Yeah.
John, you only sort of know what you're doing, huh? In other words, you know, you've learned how to fine-tune frequencies and produce effects, but you're not totally sure, are you, what this is all about?
With many things I'm not sure. It's always an exploration, and that's what makes, life so interesting, is this ongoing exploration. I haven't got all the answers.
So then apparently in Canada, they know you very well. You did what now in Vancouver?
In Vancouver?
Yes, something about a UFO?
Oh, back in 65, yes, I was sending up hydrogen balloons coated with tinfoil.
Uh-oh. And
I was just doing this because it was a fascinating thing to do, and the neighbors basically called the Vancouver Sun newspaper and the Province newspaper and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And they all came around into the backyard, and I was caught, basically. But in those days, it was kind of a fun thing, and even the military people were...
They were humored?
Oh, they were highly humored, and they wondered, because there are all these UFO blips on radar.
Uh-huh.
So they made their own comments in the newspaper.
So it was you, and they no doubt used that. Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting adventure.
It's not logical for things to... Would you say they are defying gravity? In other words, how would you phrase what's happening to these metal objects and solid objects?
Well, defying a lot of laws, and old laws, I would say, in science. But I always find the academics get very upset over this, while the military scientists don't. All the military scientists I encountered seem to be highly excited about this.
Well, I can see why.
Wrote the reports. In Canada, there was a lobby group in the Senate that was lobbying for Ferris Tech. Like, I never traveled to any of these places. The business people that were doing this. One was George Hathaway, he was a scientist. The other was Alexis Pizarro, a well-known oil fellow who basically found me in Lynn Valley and started promoting this effect. And I, at that time, really didn't think anything of it. But Alex said, "John, what are you doing? You're throwing out metal samples." I said, "Well, so what?" But as Alex said, it took a year to convince me what I was doing was very important.
Well, when things fly up in the air, John, it shouldn't be too hard to become convinced that you've stumbled into something really big.
Well, basically I finished grade 8 school as a loner. I had agoraphobia. I was living kind of in the mountains there and never had any real contact, any kind of scientific community.
Oh, so you not a lot of social skills, and
yeah,
you didn't even like leaving your agoraphobia. That's fear of leaving a house, right?
Basically, yeah. I didn't have any, I was a bit of an oddball then and didn't have that many friends. So to be instantly thrust into
the limelight,
yeah, it was intriguing. So,
probably very scary for you.
Yeah, I guess the first adventure was 78 to 79, almost the end of 79. That was in regards to, I was picked out as somebody to be harassed by the government at that time under gun control registration. I had a large collection of old weapons and stuff, and
yes,
so that was my first, I guess, major encounter out in the media. But the other one prior to that in 1965 was rather an adventure for me, and you just all these different kind of feelings that you have at that time, and that was gone. That was like, a newspaper article, a CBC report, and that disappears. I don't even have a copy of that, unfortunately, of the CBC report. I got the newspaper clippings.
Oh, well, somebody I'm sure will help you out.
But, it's when I was thrust into the scientific community, I thought to myself, well, I don't have any education, I'm still using my fingers to count and all this kind of stuff, that why do they think it's so important? So they kept convincing me and suggesting things and bringing scientific visitors to the Lynn Valley location until this happened for a couple of years, and rolling Super 8 film, the old film.
Sure.
I don't think you got that, but there's about 500 hours of stuff. What happened was that Alex Pizarro, George Hathaway suggested I go to Toronto and sign a document.
Sign a document?
Yeah. So I've never been on an aircraft before, so I took the combined efforts of all my friends, plus Alex Pizarro and his buddies, to get me on an aircraft.
What kind of document did they want you to sign?
It was a document in regards to that Alex Pizarro, George Hathaway, Norman Hathaway, and associates could help me in bringing this out into the scientific community.
Okay.
I think this is a 4-page document witnessed by an attorney. And after that, I moved from that location in Lynn Valley to yet another location, and the U.S. government then got involved.
The U.S. government?
Oh, yeah, they got involved at that time. Colonel John B. Alexander was part of the team.
Oh, I am a friend of Colonel Alexander.
Oh, he sent an email tonight to me saying there's some incorrection or some things wrong in that bio, so I mailed him back saying, oh, yeah, there probably is. There's so much stuff going on, I lose track because I never attended anything at the Pentagon.
Was that NIDS?
Well, John's working at NIDS now.
He is, but that was when he was in the military?
No, I believe when he was in the military, I think he was in the Inspector General's department.
Right.
Because I phoned there one time because I was trying to... What happened was I was given different names of all these people that came at that time period in 1983. So it took me a long time to get their real names.
Right.
And a friend of mine, Lieutenant Colonel John Bearden.
Right.
Tom Bearden, that is, gave me the names, the proper names, which allowed me to track down. Then other people came into the scene, like Jack Houck at McDonnell Douglas Aerospace, We did a non-classified experiment for 2 days and released the videos to me and documented.